This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
I need 3 of those things, baby. We ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. You like that? You like that? I like that.
How's it going, Ruckus and The Menace Sports fam? You are watching another Ruckus and The Menace Sports production as we are in episode number 138 of the Ruckus and The Menace Sports podcast. And as on an auspicious note, we are on a new day of the week for recording, as we are now recording on Tuesdays. I am Spence the Menace.
And I am Taco Tuesday. Sorry, I had to steal that the LeBron moment where he goes Taco Tuesday. I don't know if that originated on TikTok or what.
I knew where you were going. I knew where you were going. And on this episode of the Ruckus and the Menace Sports podcast, we have the transaction log where there's a little bit of housekeeping and some major details that we're going over. Our Eastwood segment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we get into the high heat where we talk about the Eastern divisions of Major League Baseball. Our color commentary where free agent frenzy continues once again for another week in the NFL. An event that has not hit our 2025 bingo cards. And then our stud and dud of the week. And in the same spirit as our fellow brethren of Two Nerds in a Pod, we have an auspicious day for us debuting our first episode on a Tuesday, as today, at the time of this recording, was the official release date for the standard edition of MLB The Show 25. And we both ended up picking it up early on early access, so we got our hands on it a little beforehand. But we have thoughts and first impressions of this to actually kick off the episode. And I will go ahead and let you... Yeah, go ahead and take it away and get started there, Ruckus.
Okay, so the main thing that I noticed, besides the fact that it was $100 for the early access, I was like, okay, what's different about this game? So the broadcasting is definitely a lot different compared to years past, because when it first came out, it was the cool, let's introduce them to the atmosphere of the actual ballpark itself. Second year, it was like, okay, let's emphasize on broadcasting, like if it was like a sports network, but we didn't totally rip it off. And then this year, it feels like it's more of they got creative and put more emphasis on like the network as like, oh, it's kind of familiar to the network that you'd have like for Fox or CBS, NBC, whoever broadcasts locally or broadcasts privately for the MLB. Like, it feels more genuine, but also there's like, they mixed it up with the different modes, like Diamond Quest, which is pretty interesting. That's why I started on, because I was like, okay, I'll experience that, and it was pretty cool. Like, you do a D&D like game where you roll like a D12. I don't even think it's a D20.
It's a D6. It's a D6.
Yeah. It was a D6.
But you get the same for, like, you get a reward for a critical success. You get a penalty for a critical fail of a 1.
It's Conquest, but on crack. Like, for the right reasons, though. Like, so, let's say you're like me and you just want to grind the game. So, what I usually did per years past was, I grinded through the conquest missions, but I also like try to do the moments. And depending on what programs you're doing for the moments, you grinded for that but also there was other things that you could do that would be more long term in the game, like where you would want to play like higher inning games, for instance, not just 3 inning games, because 3 inning games don't really do a whole lot for your at bats and whatnot, and just what productivity you could do. It's more streamlined into, okay, let's get this win in this certain amount of time, and not a lot of stuff is happening. But yeah, Diamond Quest is more so like the TikTok of that, where it's like more just in your face, you're doing this and that at a quick time, rather than taking your time with Conquest, where you have more decision making to do. That was very
Oh
complicated,
no, there's
but
still decision making in Diamond Quest. As
yeah,
you want
but
to.
it's more like in your face action. Like, imagine playing in a first person shooter and nothing's happening, and you're like, okay, why am I here? But playing a first person shooter like Far Cry 5, for example, I like walk 2 feet and then immediately I'm greeted by a dude in a jeep with a guy behind him with a gun, and they're just like, woo, we're just gonna try and kill you, and you're like, no, you're not. Imagine dealing with that in the beginning of that game, and every 20 seconds they'd just be trying to come at you and hit them. It only took a certain amount of time to get an outpost and maybe a few others to where that wasn't a thing anymore. Did you play Far Cry 5? I probably should have asked.
I did not.
Well, that was my experience with Far Cry 5, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for my TED Talk. Anyways, let's get back into what this podcast is.
But my thinking here, I have not gotten into the road of the show yet, but I've seen really good things on that. Content for that will be in the not too distant future as well, along with some other stuff we will be talking about. I've really enjoyed it so far. It is definitely a game where fielding matters. Fielding attributes matter.
Oh, for sure. Like, I remember today I was trying to throw really fast to the first with the shortstop, and the shortstop accuracy went like that. Like, I guess there was a timer between the accuracy and when you press the button. If that makes sense, like,
Oh, yeah.
like the input lag between you and pressing the button, like
I
you
mean,
have to
there's
be
that.
quicker.
I mean, there's that, but then also the more difficult to play, the throw accuracy meter moves,
Dude,
so it becomes
so
more difficult to make throws like that.
behind the scenes for this podcast, I was making a episode earlier for the Toronto Blue Jays on March October, because I was trying to see if I wanted them. I played it and I was just kind of like, okay, this one guy, he could for sure catch a ball, and he missed it, and I was just like, aw, man, like, that just seems like something I don't want to do. Like, I don't want to deal with that the whole season. And me with March October doesn't mix very well, because like you can't really statically put someone in a place and just hope that they get there, because it'll simulate it as if they needed the rest or someone else took their place.
Yeah.
That's why I forgot about last season so much.
Oh yeah, but I'm playing with a team that I am actually surprisingly feeling. I was not sure how comfortable I was going to feel.
I
And
was pissed though, because like the only other productive person besides Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was Dalton Varsho, which I called the volunteer fireman, because if he wasn't a baseball player, he looks like he'd be a fireman.
hey, Toronto still got Bo Bichette too. We'll talk about that later, but
Yeah, anyways, let's keep going.
but yeah, I am really enjoying it. The pitching is more difficult to tunnel. Like it is more difficult to tunnel hitting wise. Because there are times where I'm like, okay, I think I've got this, and I'm like, no, I am nowhere close. I am nowhere close on reading what this pitch is gonna do. And on the Diamond Quest, definitely avoid the sweeper. Because those sweeper games, you are playing those on Legend. Yeah, you're not playing that on All-Star Hall of Fame. You're playing those on Legend. And if you don't have good talent on the game, yeah, try and avoid that like the plague. I have enough that I can hang around, but I still get whooped by Legend CPU.
I'm just glad that you told me about the Team Affinity series for the Royals, so I could get
Oh,
bombing.
they divided them up by individual team now. So
It feels so much better than years past. Like, it doesn't feel like it's like a grind to go through and then realize, oh, you got season 2 of that same shit that you just did like 2 months ago, by the way.
Sets and Seasons is gone. Sets and Seasons is
I'm
gone.
so glad, because I was just like, I just effing did it. And then you're just like, oh, do it again. And it's like, I didn't want this to be a JLB. I wanted this to be FUN. Fun.
Yeah, and this is becoming more fun. Diamond Dynasty is sucking up a lot of time, but I gotta make sure that content gets out. So I gotta be more like diligent about getting it.
No, you're saying it wrong.
And not
You're
sucking
saying
up
it
so
wrong.
much time into Diamond Dynasty.
It's F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for Uranian bombs. N is for no survivors.
The F was not for friends in Plankton's version. It was for fire. You messed it up.
I did that on purpose. Joke's on you.
All right. Now, so definitely MLB The Show 25 gameplays wise for both of us has really made sure that it is a good pickup for all of you sports game fans.
I'm still shaky on it.
Oh,
I'm used to paying $15
I think
a month.
I'm a little more. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're shook on it because they took it away from your precious Game Pass.
Hey,
For
Microsoft.
me, who didn't bother.
Hey, Microsoft. Hey, Microsoft. Okay, I'm not actually gonna say it. Do it.
Yeah, but honestly, it is one of those things where I am glad that, because I was already putting money into it, and as you could tell by the ball cap, I had been paying for upgraded editions to get the physical hat for the season, and this year they didn't do one, so that was a little bit of a bummer, but I'm not sad about it.
They definitely got me on the eagerness to play it, because I was like, God damn it, like, I want to see what's new with this. And then here's my incentive though with that is, so with subscription services, the idea is that you forget that you have them, or that you're just used to it, and then you just pay that monthly. Whereas if you bought the game or own the game, that you own it for because you paid the rights to have that game, and you have it forever until Microsoft tells you to eat shit and die, and that game doesn't own that you don't own that game because of the license that came with it. So the ambition to play that game, whether it was $100 or $70 or whatever, goes higher, because you're like, okay, I want to get the value out of it for the time that I have, which not everyone has, but so.
Oh yeah, but
that's why I was so pissed that Game Pass didn't get it, because years past it was so much cheaper for me, because I play it on the Series S, and I'm just like, okay, I'm having fun, and I'm getting a good time investment out of it with Spanish, and it's enough time to where I don't feel bad if I paid a certain amount for it. Like, that's why I bought Game Pass in the first place. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yep. All right. And the next thing we have is that baseball is now finally here as the opening games have started with the Tokyo series.
I saw the highlights for the game one for the Dodgers and Cubs. They didn't have really anything for the Tokyo series between the Tokyo Giants and the Dodgers. I wish I saw something about that, but I couldn't because the MLB wasn't really broadcasting it or saying anything about it. But what I can tell you from experience with the Tokyo Dome is that environment was definitely a more enthusiastic experience compared to a game that you would go to in an American ballpark like Kauffman Stadium or, for in your case, Oriole Park.
See, or Nationals Park. I'm really within 2 hours of both.
Yeah, like the enthusiasm that goes in. If you've ever been to a playoff game, like I have, in the ALCS game 5 or 6 of 2015,
Yeah,
me and my dad,
playoff
me
games are.
me and my dad were in the nosebleeds of that, and that was something I will never forget for the rest of my life because not only because how loud it was when Ben's over to homer, or how many boos were going on whenever Jose Batista hit a homer or tried to make a comeback. Where I think one of them was a solo homer, or maybe both of them were. But the Chiefs, not the Chiefs fans, the Royals fans. Look at me being all accustomed to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Royals fans were like, boo, like pretty much flipping the bird at Batista because he's a piece of shit, even though he really is. But anyways, needless to say,
Oh yeah, and I'm a fan of a
the
baseball
Tokyo Dome
franchise
is
that-
so different. Like, you feel like if you ever watch Star Wars and you see like a bar scene or whatever, and they're like speaking different languages or just like interacting differently.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
of that for a Midwesterner guy that like went to the Tokyo Dome, and you're just like, ooh, this is interesting. Like, you're not really judging it. You're just like, damn, like everything's just happening all at once. It's great. It's awesome. I had good times. Anyways, let's keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. But yeah, like you were saying with that, I'm a fan of a franchise that travels well with the Boston Red Sox, and you'll find Red Sox fans no matter where you go. And
At the
oh man,
Haba?
no, I'm saying, yeah, I mean, yeah, whenever I've gone to Opusy,
At Central Park?
you could hear the "Let's Go Red Sox" from throughout the stadium.
Oh,
The
speaking of
last time
which,
I was,
when we beat the Canadians in 2015, I heard chants behind me, and I remember this so vividly because it was so awesome. I heard USA, USA, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, let's go, let's go.
oh man, I've been, oh man, yeah, that is definitely some fun. Definitely some fun there. The Tokyo series between the Cubs and the Dodgers is picking up. It's a 3-game set. The Dodgers won the first one out of the bunch, and I think they play game 2 tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. because of the time difference. But Selection Sunday has come upon us over the last couple of days as well. And now we get to look at what college basketball going to look like here for this, as now we've got Jacksonville State and Georgia Tech.
Do it in your best Greg Gumbel voice, I dare you.
UT Chattanooga, Middle Tennessee State. It looks like that's all NIT action.
Venice, do it in your Greg Gumbel voice.
I don't know if I truly have a Greg Gumbel voice, my guy.
Well, clearly,
But
wait, name me some. Wait, where do I need to go for this?
your number 1 overall seeds are Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston.
Okay, there we go.
And I think there's a few fun games that are going to be throughout this first week of college basketball action. In the in the South region, I definitely see there's going to be some fun between Michigan and San Diego, UC San Diego. North Carolina, the last team in, is playing San Diego State.
Can I just
There'll be
spoil my bracket?
Who do you have winning it all, Ruckus?
I picked Duke because I had no faith in Kansas to do really anything. And then
Oh, Kansas! This is the first time Kansas has had a seed below the age or below the level of 4 since I was 10 years old. Or actually really 9 years old, because it was 1999-2000. NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys
when were you
and
born?
Destiny's Child. I was born in 90. So
Yeah,
I was
damn.
a kid the last time Kansas was not a top 4
You were 7
seed.
and I was 2.
No, I was I was
Oh,
almost 10 years old.
This is what happens when I drink and do math. It's not great.
I was
God
almost
damn it.
10 years old. I was almost 10 years old. Yes. So Justin Timberlake and Beyonce still had not gone solo yet.
My sister would have been not really born yet, or newborn. Or actually, no. That's bullshit. She was 4 or 5 years older than me, so there you go.
I would have had a sister in grade school and another one about a toddler. So so there's that. But I haven't actually filled out. I actually don't know if I'm even gonna fill out a bracket because I really wasn't in any situation for.
I just didn't give it. I just didn't put much attention into it. I just kind of threw shit at the wall and hoped it sticked. Like I was just kind of like, okay, because at any point, some no-name college is gonna be winning it big until the Sweet 16 or whatever, Divine 8 or.
Oh yeah, or Elite 8. Yeah,
Elite
I am pretty
8.
much. I'm looking at probably my national title pick. I think my national title pick is probably going to be Florida. I'm looking at Florida as a very good chance.
Because my sleeper app was just like, yeah, they're superior over everything. I'm like, okay. Boop.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Florida. I'm looking Florida Duke in that national championship game. And then Florida beating Duke. The SEC had a record amount of teams. Liberty is in a very interesting position because they're a 12 seed. Clemson against McNeese at the 5-12. Colorado State and Memphis. You see San Diego, Michigan. The 5-12s are always generally, but I'm hoping Michigan State also makes the Final Four. Because I will definitely be rooting hard for the Sparty.
Yeah, I'm just more so just for me and my weird devil's advocate for the lottery of March Madness is crazy.
Yeah, I am ready.
I am not. Did you see the John Oliver sports betting video yet for last week?
Oh, there's potentially about but there's potentially about over $3 billion of betting on this,
dude.
And
imagine
as far as just
we can
college
talk about
basketball goes, as Fisa-May would say it, my body is Reggie.
I'm gonna we'll leave the sports betting debate to be added later. Is there another thing on the agenda?
Well, we've got channel housekeeping, MLB The Show content. Now with the game out, we've got content on the horizon. March to October teams are almost set. I am set by knowing that I will be playing as the St. Louis Cardinals, and Ruckus is torn between the Diamondbacks, Blue Jays, and Pirates.
I think in all honesty, I'll probably go to the Diamondbacks, but I'm still like putting the details in because I thought with the Blue Jays I would have some good pitching depth and hitting depth and fielding, and then I realized Santander is not paid to field; he's paid to hit the bat, and when I hit the bat with him, he kind of sucks. But we'll see how it goes. I'm sure I'll have an update soon, but I would like the reason why I wanted to play the Blue Jays in the first place is because they're Canadian, and I wanted to make some Canadian jokes in the mix, or just have a dumb thumbnail where it's Terrence Phillip. But that's just me.
Yeah,
I know Spanish is. I like how Spanish is just like, why, why, out of all these years, why?
You hoser. That could have very well. You also pretty much could have done like the reporting of Robin Scherbatsky as well, for that matter. The Canadian and How I Met Your Mother.
I'm
But
watching
that's
you,
beside
buddy.
the point. But a road to the show for me is in the works in the near future as well. Next week, there is no podcast episode, as I have decided to prioritize what needs to be prioritized with my wedding anniversary next week.
For me, it's
And
just the daylight savings catch up because, goddamn, my brain went from like, "Hey, the sun's coming up whenever you're waking up," to shit. It's just straight up like,
give it
okay,
time. Give it time. The days are getting longer. It will eventually be that way where the sun will be up when you're waking up
yes,
around
but
summertime.
dude,
Give it time.
when it hits though, when it initially hits, just like why,
Oh yeah.
why am?
Oh yeah.
That's why it
No,
sucks.
I totally get it. I totally get it. But yes, I had told Ruckus, I think the other day, I said, I know in a few weeks I have my birthday. I would be willing to record on that day, but this is a day that is more than just me involved, or at least more than just me on the immediate involvement. So I have said this is going to be a no. It's a no for me, dog.
I mean, I always say like family's more important than whatever we're doing because you never know what could be happening in the family, and also just life is precious. Live as Tom Syndicate says from the Syndicate Project. Life's too short. Make the most of it.
Yeah, but I am at least glad that yes, it'll be 2 years next week, so it is definitely a major plus. However, we are in the process of 3-year anniversary special in the near future of some sort, kind of roughly around ballpark. I don't know if we're going to shoot for that week or not. Details on this are all still to be determined.
I'm not gonna lie with you, man. We could take our sweet ass time with 3-year anniversary. We could do it anytime. I don't care if it's the date of it. Like, let's just do it sometime.
Yeah,
We have the
just
time in the world.
that was why I said the near future.
Time
that was
time
why
is
I
on
said
our
what I
side.
said. Yep.
I'm just saying because for my point of view, it could be different, and here we are. Anyways.
Oh yeah, and of course we also have to factor in time differences for some of the people that may be involved. I am not spoiling anything by saying this. We just have to consider it.
Not to discount our fan base or anything, but we only have about 30 subscribers and so many views, so that's why I said we have the time.
Oh yeah, I know we have all the time in the world for it. But at the same time, I was saying in terms of time differences to consider, of course, shout out to our main man, Alex Man, for these graphics that you're now going to be seeing.
Thank
As
you,
he
Alex
is 2
Man.
hours of a time difference away. And some of our other featured guests that we've had are within the 1 to 2 hour difference of me over here on the East Coast. But that's neither here nor there. we can roll on to the Eastwood segment, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right, so
I-
Spinnis, what is
I
good in
figured
sports this week, my man?
Figured at that point I was just waiting for the time cue.
Did you not see the dumb icon that looks like Clint Eastwood's? Did you not see it?
I don't see the webcam whenever I do this because my information is in front of me in a large enough font that I can read it.
So
I'm sorry,
okay,
I'm getting old.
we're gonna have to rehearse this really quick. Really quick.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
when I
I'm
press,
eventually trying to
okay,
figure
hold
out
on,
the Murtaugh.
hold on. When I click this button, do you hear it?
I don't hear it, but I see it now.
Now you see it, Bob? Okay, good for you. Now you know what
Yeah,
the
now-
audience saw.
But of course, well, but at the point of this with the text kind of being the way it is, I'm having to Murtaugh this thing right now and realizing that for small text and being able to read it sometimes, I'm too old for this.
Sorry, I don't speak Spanish.
So, wait,
Murtaugh, what is Murtaugh?
you've never heard of Lethal Weapon?
I have, but I never knew what the F Murtaugh was.
One of the characters, the Murtaugh, the character that says I'm too old for this.
Was that Mel Gibson?
No, I think that one was Danny Glover actually.
Okay. I just picture Mel Gibson saying that.
No,
for some
Mel
reason.
Gibson was Riggs. Mel Gibson was Riggs. Danny Glover was Murtaugh.
Oh, okay. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah, because wait, no, that's the cast. I need the movies. Yeah, it was Roger Murtaugh was Danny Glover. That's why I was giving you the I'm too old for the
Murtaugh
'cause
just
it was
sounds
Danny
like more masculine.
Yeah. But Mel Gibson was Martin Riggs in that movie. But Ryan Reynolds, speaking of actors, the Ryan Reynolds owned Wrexham are still on course to be promoted. And this promotion that they go on for the third straight year is one step closer to the Premier League, and they would be one step away. Wouldn't it be interesting that by the time the 2026 World Cup rolls around, Wrexham would be in the Premier League? Wouldn't you
I
think that'd be
kind of
interesting?
predicted that it would be kind of in the middle, but it's good for them to overachieve and also good for that team because it just adds value to it and growth and popularity. And speaking of the tangent that we went on, Ryan Reynolds goes on a lot of tangents as Deadpool, so
Yeah.
there you go.
And then the not so good this week, although he has now put in stock into a World Bowling League team, Mookie Betts suffered an illness and was unable to play in Tokyo due to that illness that also caused him to lose 15 pounds. So
I was wondering why he wasn't playing because to me, I was like,
I thought I had mentioned that. I think prior to and telling you that when I wrote that down.
oh, I probably wasn't listening because I was looking at the highlights, and that's probably what I don't know. I was in a different zone.
Because Ruckus at that point in time when I was mentioning this and that when I had put that in there was not paying his attention bill. And our downright ugly this week, before I completely get reamed at for burning Ruckus on that, was the item that was not on our 2025 bingo card as well, as West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey throws a hissy and calls for the investigation of the NCAA Hoop Selection Committee over WVU being snubbed from the tournament. He was standing behind a lectern that said the National Corrupt Athletic Association, as also the AD of North Carolina is also the head of the selection committee. So corruption was accused on that regard. ESPN had a field day with this, as Pat McAfee was praising Morrissey's Morrissey's
What the hell did
approach.
you just say? That sounds like a lot of big words that a Harvard student would say, but to
What?
the naked eye, that's like. What did you just say? Like, spit that in American.
Basically, the governor of West Virginia threw a hissy fit,
Okay.
called for the investigation of the NCAA Hoops Selection Committee
Okay.
over, of course, the big university in West Virginia, WVU.
Okay.
Being WVU in, and North Carolina made it instead. So Stephen A. Smith called Morrissey childish, and they were saying it's like, don't you have anything else to do? But Pat McAfee was praising him. The podium that Morrissey was standing behind as he was talking all of this had a banner over the top of it that the acronym of NCAA was National Corrupt Athletic Association.
Oh.
Instead of National Collegiate Athletic Association.
Clever.
The athletic director of North Carolina was also the head of the college hoops selection committee, so he was accusing corruption on that regard. Pat McAfee was praising the presentation of Morrissey's things. Stephen A. Smith was slamming him. I'm sure the constituents here in the state of West Virginia are like, we're definitely upset that WVU is snubbed, but is this really where we want our tax dollars going?
Probably not.
So there's a combination of ugly, stupid, like boneheaded on top of that. And then to make matters worse, here's the real kicker. The head coach is now upping and leaving WVU and going to Indiana. And likely taking his son with him. So that doesn't that just add another salt to the wound for everybody in Morgantown?
Not that salty.
But unfortunately, no, I just said it adds salt into it. Like the wound of being snubbed was already there. Just to add another, just to kick the state while they're down, kick the university while it's down. The coach then decides to up and go. Because I just saw that on Bleacher Report earlier that Indiana had officially hired him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was downright ugly over the past 3 days for the state of West Virginia.
All right.
On that note, we now can move on to the high heat, where we are concluding our MLB preview series and talking about the Eastern divisions.
I'll go first.
Oh, yep. We're starting with the NL East.
All right. I'm going based off of their standings again, so bear with me. Phillies, you lost on the division series to a hot Mets team. Bottom line is the team didn't perform well enough to get farther in. Did adding Jordan Romano and Max Kepler help the Fighting Phil's chances to get back to the Fall Classic? I'll leave that up to the season to, I guess, dictate that. But I think as long as you just stay consistent and have that team mentality going into the season, but also manage Romano enough to where he doesn't get hurt, because I feel like at this point in the system for the Phillies, they might as well like manage that shit, because you had Gregory Soto at one point, Hector Neris, and I think like a few other guys that you could have like equally like managed to make something bigger, kind of like what the Royals had back in 2014 and 2015 with the GHG, or no, it was HDH, I think. Yeah, HDH. It was Greg Holland, Kelvin Herrera, and Wade Davis. And um, if you're gonna try to build the bullpen in general, it's very hard to do that if you don't see the vision that could be there. And that's why I think about the Phillies as far as their bullpen. Number 2, I had the Braves. You lost in the wild card against the Padres, which is a team that you probably could have beaten just based off of the momentum that the Padres had this season. I put you lose in the wild card to the Padres after a rough go with health not being in your strong suit, because the Braves did lose Ronald Acuna Jr. like May or June, that time period
they've had a
before the
lot of
All-Star
major
break.
injuries.
Yeah, before the All-Star break, they didn't have him, and even like historically for the postseason for the Braves, Acuna was not there during the World Series appearance in 2021, where they won against the Astros. Um, keep Acuna and his friends healthy and consistent with production. Can Acuna legitimately win a World Series with the Braves without being carried by the replacements in the 2020 from the 2021 World Series? Because the history with the Braves was they trade for Soler, who came from the Royals. They trade for Eddie Rosario, that came from the Twins, and they trade for Jock Pearson, who came from
I think
the
it was
Dodgers.
the Dodgers.
Yeah. And what did they do? They won the World Series without Acuna because he was hurt, and then like a few other guys got hurt. I think Duvall was one of them too.
I think
Adam Duvall.
they still had Freddie then too. I think Freddie was still the first baseman at the time.
Yeah. Yep, Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, but Philly, as far as they go, their rotation's loaded. Especially after having a Cy Young type season from Ranger Suarez last year.
Yeah.
I am very, very sure that there is a high ceiling for what the Phillies can do. As far as the Braves go, I am looking forward to seeing them in June against the Mets, because this will be my first time going to see them. But I think that Strider has a really good Cy Young type thing, but losing Max Fried is going to really hurt them. Chris Sale had another Cy Young type year, and it's hard to
Hell of
tell
a
whether or not
season,
that's
dude.
going to be something again. What?
Hell of a season. He had probably a great homecoming in a sense. I also had so for number 2 I had the Braves. Number 3 in the league last year was the Mets. The Dodgers beat you in the World Series. Beat you to the World Series and won. Is one the main piece, or is this just a relapse from saying you're not going to spend more money? I think Juan Soto was a mistake for the Mets because they gave too much to get him, and the Yankees I feel like had the right idea, but they didn't give the presidential suite or whatever he would have gotten to be with the Mets or Yankees or whatever. Like, I think he would have been better as a Yankee because of just the villainy that is the Yankees. I think it turns him into a more of like a vigilante rather than a villain. But anyways,
Oh man, the Mets are still deep though. The Mets are still deep as far as talent. So I think the Mets, if they can get it all together, they're fine. They've now kind of gotten outside of the Scherzer, Verlander mess.
well, they for sure had to get out of Scherzer because when it came to him in Texas, they did not mix very well. Still don't.
Yeah,
Now he's a Blue Jay.
but
Um,
they have Clay Holmes now. They still have Senga. So I think it's going to really come down to their starting pitching and how
yeah.
well that holds up. And also catcher, I think, is a not as strong point for them. But I'll let you keep rolling.
And then I had the Nationals at 4. Keep building around Z.J. Abrams and others to bolster the core of the offense. I feel like that's what's lacking for the most part is their offense. Their bullpen has been mostly decent. I feel like where they struggle mainly is offense. Like you tried to get Josh Bell year in and year out. You tried Joey Gallo. You tried these other bats that you thought would like come to bat for you, but they just tended not to really put that much success out on the field as far as the offense goes.
Oh, and you've got Josh Bell back. You've got Paul DeYoung. Nathaniel Lowe is also a potential first baseman for them.
Which is great for a
Yepes.
pitcher.
Yeah. But I think the Nationals, it's going to be more about James Wood in there now as a young player and the emergence of Dylan Cruz, who is their top prospect. And then you have the Marlins.
Yeah, I pretty much just said keep Xavier Edwards and Sandy Alcantara healthy, and you might have a competitive edge over other teams. And I say might because Sandy really only played like a couple games and then was just kind of MIA. But
All right.
Stennis saving the best for last.
It's
What do you
the
got?
AL East. It's the AL East. And now, the first team I'm going to talk about here is the Tampa Bay Rays. This is another year, another Moneyball roster construction that could either surprise people or fall flat on its face. Carson Williams will be the biggest arrival for the majors for them projected for this season. The Toronto Blue Jays are, though they have Anthony Santander to be able to rake a little bit for them, they're another team doomed by moves that were not made rather than moves that were. There are critical decisions involving both Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette that will define this former AF playoff team what they do with those decisions could help them avoid or end up having them become a shell of what they once were. The Yankees, injuries are plaguing the Bronx Bombers early on before the season has even began. No Cole, heel out with an injury as far as the pitching. But in spite of the World Series loss and Juan Soto moving over from the Bronx to Queens, the Yankees are still working on their lineup and finding where they can still be a force, getting guys like Cody Bellinger to kind of cover that base. And the Yankees also have already had a wave of prospects come up. But Jason Dominguez is now the most recent one that has started to come up their way. They just had Volpe come up. They just had Oswaldo come up. So the Yankees have had prospects get called up. So
I'm surprised that Blade Jordan hasn't come up.
Blaze Jordan is now a little further down the Red Sox farm system, but I'll get to them here in a second.
Okay.
The AL East is headlined by the Baltimore Orioles as well. A lot of the best farm system in baseball from years past has now come up and now is in the show. Guys like Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson. So these next few years should be more of show up and show out for the Orange Birds when it comes to position player-wise. Pitching is going to be most critical, even though with them just losing Corbin Burns. However, they do have a catcher, first baseman prospect, and a corner infielder prospect in Sam Basayo and Kobe Mayo, who are potentially guys that could make that are on the way up.
I feel like you could probably get some maybe one veteran piece and then like rely on a rookie piece because I feel like you guys are pretty close to it. It just hasn't
Oh
really come
yeah,
into fruition.
the Orioles.
Like Felix Batista, like he could be a force to be reckoned with, but like the season where you guys were promised to like get playoff berth, he tore his Tommy
Yeah.
John bone and just yeah.
But I think that the Orioles are now they're now in step up and step ready to go. Like be ready to go.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the major prospects that they've had in the farm system that have worked their way up are now in, and now they gotta show out.
Yeah.
But now, while the Yankees and Orioles have had more of their major prospects come up, the Red Sox are still on the way as they are set where the Orioles were just a few short years ago. And the exciting part for them is prospects that are on the way in. With notables like as number 2 prospect Roman Anthony, number 7 prospect Christian Campbell, and number 12 prospect Marcelo Meyer are the big 3 that are coming in. The bigger part of Boston's season at this point will how will the current position players gel, especially with them bringing in Alex Bregman, and if pitching continues to be a good stable force that was more of the secret to the Red Sox success at times last year. So this is going to be a fun division to figure out.
Assuming that New York does not trade those top prospects, I think they have a good year ahead of them. I think as long as the guys that they signed to like patch up the spots, like Paulie Goldschmidt and a few others, like
Goldschmidt,
trading for
Bellinger,
Cody Bellinger and whatnot, like I think you will have a great time.
Yeah, right now I think the fun part of these divisions, I mean, Toronto's got a couple in the top 100, the Nationals have a few in the top 100. There are players throughout all roughly close to all 30 major league teams that have top 100 prospects. And I am excited to eventually see where some of these guys eventually get called up. And it is an exciting bit. And now we move on to the color commentary, where we go into free agent frenzy in the NFL once again. And now we get to see where we take moves from here. And the Chiefs have done mostly just some polishing up at this point. The Commanders have done some polishing up and just re-signing mostly our own.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up for us too. Other than that, I feel like there was a little bit of a stir up in the kingdom because Derek Stingley Jr. signed a 3-year
it was a
$90
big
million deal.
It was
over 30. It was $30 million a year, and and people were saying, "Hey, Veach, why don't you extend Duffy to a higher end deal?" Yeah, but like, here's the thing. What part of me doesn't know what his current rookie contract is. Maybe they're trying to go a little cheaper for now because they can, rather than because they should extend Trent McDuffie. I think it's more of a cost-effective thing of, okay, should we do this? Because currently your objective right now is to extend Trey Smith to a proper contract than just paying him $24 million a year to be a guard.
Oh yeah, McDuffie's still on his rookie deal. There's a 5th-year option available, which if you're the Chiefs and you have a good opportunity to take it, go ahead and take it. go ahead and pick up his 5th-year option next year. Just go ahead and pick it up because he's going to be highly valuable for you at that point. He hits an unrestricted free agent the next year after that. So I think it's more so that the 5th-year option will give McDuffie a salary cap boost at that point, and then they can start assessing where they really want to go with that. So I think for the most part, because McDuffie is panning out, I think that the Chiefs do look at
For
eventually
sure.
boosting his salary.
Because the whole
But-
point of getting Fulton last week was because they wanted to help his slot game be better. Like, he could focus more on that. But anyways, let's keep going on.
But that's why I said I think they are not in as big of a rush
Yeah.
to cover McDuffie.
I agree.
And then, I mean, it's like the big re-signings for the Commanders. Yeah, we re-signed Noah Brown. We got Mariota as a backup again. Like, they mostly are just securing some little things after picking up, I think, Jonathan Jones from the Patriots.
Oh yeah, we got Gardner
Interesting.
Minshew and Bailey Zappi. That's
Yeah,
all I'm gonna add.
y'all are now oversaturated on backups, like as if Mahomes needs a backup quarterback.
I mean, Matt Castle needed a bunch of backups, but we never used them. We had Brady Quinn. We had shit. Who else? We had... God damn it! It was Brady Quinn at one point. No, this was during the Alex Smith era. It was Alex Smith, Brady Quinn, and then like a few other guys that we had. But anyways,
But now, some of the major moves that we saw: DeAndre Hopkins to Baltimore. I think this is a move that makes you go. It makes sense, but it also makes you go, huh? You already have good young wide receivers.
But here's the thing: D Hop was more of like an identity piece than anything, and he did not belong with the Chiefs. And I will admit that right now. Hear me out, because
you're kidding.
DeAndre Hopkins, he was good in the beginning, and then in the second half, I'm not gonna lie, buyer's remorse. I think he would have been great, but once Hollywood Brown got healthier, his identity with the game, Hollywood Brown that is, was not great because of that, and so we tried to inject Hopkins more into it because he was already in the zone with it, and obviously that did not translate to what happened in the Super Bowl or any other playoff games.
Wide receiver. He's an aging wide receiver. That's just
again. He was good in the beginning, but near the end of the when it came to it, no. Like,
yeah, that's why I was saying you got you guys ended up getting DeAndre Hopkins at that point about 2 or 3 years too late.
I was just hoping for the better. Like, I had that honeymoon phase.
You needed to intercept him away from the Tennessee Titans.
We had that honeymoon
needed him away
phase.
From Tennessee. You needed him away from Tennessee.
We had
if you would have gotten him back,
we had that honeymoon phase, where it was all sunshine and rainbows, and then it went.
No, I caught where you were going with that. But my point of the argument is that you jumped on to getting him at the wrong time. DeAndre Hopkins, about before he had gotten to Tennessee, where he was still under the age of 30, he probably would have worked out a lot better. Been a lot better.
Maybe. It just comes to the mental toughness too.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, D-Hop's good, and I'm sure he mentored the rookie and younger wide receivers of that roster there in Kansas City well over that time. And sometimes that's all they really needed. And Baltimore has a young core already with Zay Flowers. I believe they're still going to have Rashad Bateman. So I mean, the biggest part about DeAndre Hopkins going to Baltimore is that other than mentoring younger wide receivers anymore, he's not a starting. I don't think he's truly a 1-2, maybe even a 3 wide receiver anymore. He's and I think even that DeAndre Hopkins deal may not have necessarily been that great. Yeah, it was a 1-year, $5 million contract, so it was a cheap investment. But he's 34,
Yeah, we'll
or
see
he's
what
33.
happens as far as the um I think if we'll see what happens with this production next year. We'll see what happens. I feel like it's not going to be much, but I was hoping
Yeah,
we would get a little bit more out of him last year, but we didn't. But I see what you're putting down, and I'm sorry if I interpret it into a different way.
yeah. All I was saying is that there were rumors of D Hop going to Kansas City years ago,
I remember that
back
too,
when he was
but
kind of like
I
within
was
that
gonna.
market.
I think we were talking about it at that time too, and I was
Yeah,
just kind of numb to it.
and I think and now I think all of a sudden coming to the realization that the Chiefs just jumped on the getting DeAndre Hopkins at the absolute wrong time. That was all I was saying. But speaking of receivers and getting the bag, 3 more receivers got their contracts. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins got their huge extensions. And Cooper Kupp gets a 3-year, $45 million deal to probably not even be a number 1 wide receiver in Seattle. Yes, I am going to say that. He will be a number 2 passing option there in Seattle, being severely overpaid. Is he
I
good?
think
Yes. Will he mentor JSN? Yes. Is he really going to have an excellent time there in Seattle as far as being able to win games and such? Jury's still out.
yeah, I don't have high hopes for Cooper Cup, to be honest with you. My rebuttal was going to be that Cooper Cup was going to be the main wide receiver because he gets paid the most out of everybody, but we'll see what happens in the end.
But I think it's just going to be youth and the amount of really good targets that JSN has picked up over the time, which has led to
maybe
them
maybe the
trading away DK Metcalf anyway.
what if the gamble is more so that if he does get hurt, he can at least mentor the newbies and the youngins.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're picking up everything that I've already said.
My bad.
No worries. I'm hitting the takes a little quicker than where you're going. Joey Bosa will take over Von Miller's spot in Buffalo.
I'm sad that he didn't play for his brother or with his brother.
It would have been nice for him to go to San Fran, but I don't know if you would have been able to. I think they both kind of play very much similar to the same side, because I don't think Bosa was really an opposite end as like Joey was the opposite end of Nick. So I don't think you would get the Bosa sandwich on a quarterback.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Allen headlines the amount of defensive tackles and they went in mass, no pun intended, to Minnesota. I think Jonathan Allen was among like 2 or 3 different defensive tackles that the Vikings signed. And Jonathan Allen, the Vikings overpaid.
Good.
It was like 3 years, $60 million, and Jonathan Allen was only worth $15 million with the Commanders. And they and Minnesota didn't bother wanting to trade. Not even for picks. Not even for decent pick assets. Fine. We'll send him into the free agent market and you overpay. But my favorite headline in all this was DeMarcus Lawrence heading to Seattle and trading barbs with Micah Parsons about Micah Parsons' podcasting on the way out. Saying that they aren't going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas anyway. Because Micah Parsons is too busy tweeting and not playing.
Yeah.
Tweeting and podcasting and all this stuff. I'm sorry, DeMarcus Lawrence. It's not that much better in Seattle.
They got nothing.
Yep. And here are some of the top free agents that are still unsigned. Cam Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Tevin Jenkins, Rasul Douglas, Amari Cooper, and Asante Samuel Jr. was shocking as a 25-year-old corner that was left unsigned.
Probably waiting for the draft. They're probably waiting for the draft.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me, especially because we are just over a month away on that. We already hit the not on the bingo card item earlier with the Patrick Morrissey stuff there. So we now can close out this episode with our stud and dud of the week.
You ready?
And where you at on this, Ruckus?
All right, so my stud of the week is Alex Gordon is the new member of the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame. Woo! And then my honorable mention is Gardner Minshew wearing a funny Yippee-Ki-Yay hat during his signing with the Chiefs Broadcasting Day, where it was a reference to Die Hard.
That doesn't surprise me. Yep.
But I'm ready. I'm excited for the season. And then my dud for this week is Cooper Kupp's availability at wide receiver 1 for the Seahawks, because I don't know how his legs are gonna hold up, but we'll see how that goes.
Yep. My stud for this week is none other than Wardell Stephen Curry for sinking his 4,000th career 3-point shot. Yeah. He has scored more points in threes than probably some players in the NBA have scored in their entire careers. And he is one of the best shooters of all time, if not the best 3-point shooter of all time. And he is kind of, I think, the person that has really been the major inspiration for people shooting those half-court threes and everything else that younger ballers are doing. My dud is the Pittsburgh Steelers for drawing out the plans for a quarterback. Like they're taking entirely too long and especially holding out for what potentially could be Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. And this is drawing the ire of star defensive lineman for them, Cam Hayward. And he's like, Rodgers, you're either wanting to be here or you're not wanting to be here. Come out of the darkness and actually say something. And do something. So yeah, I wouldn't see Cam Hayward going on an ayahuasca trip anytime soon.
Man!
Yeah, but I'll go ahead and close this out here, Ruckus, as this will do it for episode number 138 of the Ruckus and the Menace Sports Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 138 of the Ruckus and the Menace Sports Podcast. I am Ruckus, always constant Ruckus.
You just said welcome to the episode.
Yes, I realize that now. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening to the
You had one
Ruckus.
job.
Shut it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruckus Always Causes a Ruckus podcast.
One job.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace sports podcast number 130. I'm Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus the Menace.
And I totally did not just botch that. Anyways, y'all have a good night.
Deuces.